Hey guys, it's Sarah. Thank you so much for watching. So in today's video, I am going to be sharing with you some of my tips that I've learned for project panning. So I have been panning for about 2.5 years now, and I feel like I've learned a lot in those 2.5 years about the best ways to stay motivated and have fun with project panning. I feel like when I first started out project panning, I got really burnt out on it and I did not understand the appeal of project panning. I didn't understand why other people enjoyed it so much. I felt like it was causing me to, even if I was being successful in using up my products that were in the project, I was also neglecting the rest of my makeup collection. Since that time, I feel like I've learned a lot about ways to not let that happen and still have fun with it, still enjoy your entire collection and not just the handful of products that are in your project pan. So let's go ahead and get into the 7 tips. I think it's 7. Who knows, maybe I'll come up with more as I'm talking. But the first tip is to clarify your reason for project panning. There are so many reasons why someone might do a project pan. Maybe you have a large collection and you want to make sure you're using up your older products before they go bad. Maybe you just want to make sure you're getting maximum enjoyment out of your collection. Maybe you want to get to know your products better. You want to get a sense of how long certain products will last you. You want to curb your desire to spend. Maybe you want to focus more on using what you have as opposed to buying new makeup. Maybe you're trying to transition your collection to 100% cruelty-free. Whatever your reason may be, there's so many reasons why a person might decide to project pan. These are just a few. Maybe you're just doing it for experimental reasons. Maybe you just want to kind of see how often products need to be repurchased, how many uses you have in a product. There's all sorts of reasons to do a project pan. So I suggest figuring out what your reason is, because there's really not going to be one right or wrong reason to do a project pan. Whether you have a tiny makeup collection or you have a huge makeup collection or anywhere in between, I feel like project panning can really be for everyone. It's not necessarily just about the thrill of using up products. I feel like there's a lot more benefits to it as well. For me, project panning has really been because I want to get my money's worth out of products. It's kind of been a combination of wanting to curb my desire to buy new makeup. Project panning has really put into perspective just how long it takes to use up a product. A lot of products will take forever to pan. Some products will take years to go through, even if you're using it every day. Like, it's been really eye-opening for me. It's definitely made me just overall enjoy my collection more, enjoy what I have more, and it's just really fun for me. So that's kind of why I do it, but I suggest that you kind of figure out why you're doing it. And then as you're selecting which products to pick, as you're figuring out how you want to structure your project pan, it'll be easier because you know why you're doing it. My next tip is to find new ways to use products that you don't necessarily think you like. So for me right now in my project pan, I am currently trying to pan 2 products that I actually featured in my worst products of 2018 video, which sounds really counterintuitive, and it's actually contradictory to my next tip, but I want you to hear me out because this can actually be really helpful. For me, I really don't like decluttering products unless I have a friend that I know will love it or I know it's gonna get used up by someone else. I have a really hard time decluttering makeup because I spent my hard-earned money on it, and for me, I want to figure out a way to make it work. I don't have a huge collection, and I like kind of experimenting with products and figuring out new ways to use products even if I don't love it for its intended purpose. So for example, right now I'm trying to pan the Physicians Formula Spotlight Illuminating Primer, and that is a primer that I do not like at all as a primer, which is its advertised purpose. That's why I featured it in my worst of 2018 video, because I think it's a terrible face primer. However, I did spend, what, like $12 on it, $13 on it. I feel like to me, that's actually a lot of money. So I want to figure out a way to find enjoyment in that product and use that product. So what I'm using it for the most part right now is as a foundation mixer. So I've been mixing it in with some of my foundations to create a more like sheer, kind of glowy, dewy look to the foundation. And it's actually a fun way to customize some of my other foundations. Maybe if I am wanting to go for a more glowy look that day, I can choose to do that with that product. And that's actually a really great way to use it. And I am finding enjoyment in the product that I originally really didn't like. Another way that I am going to be using that product more in the warmer months, like in the summertime, is mixing in with my body lotion. If I want my legs to look like a little bit more glowy and shimmery than usual, I can use it for that purpose as well. So I highly recommend doing that because it can actually be a lot of fun, and there have been products that I have put in project pans that I originally didn't like, that I've later figured out I actually really like them for another purpose. And even in some cases, I've ended up really liking a product that I didn't like originally. So it can almost be like a fun little game in a way. Another example of that is the Hemp's Herbal Dry Shampoo that I'm trying to pan right now as well. I really don't like it as a dry shampoo. I don't think it does a good job for its advertised purpose. And for that reason, it was in my worst of 2018 video as well, along with that Physicians Formula primer. But I am actually able to use it and get some good use out of it just by using it as a volumizing product for my hair. So while it doesn't necessarily work as a dry shampoo for me, it doesn't really absorb oil the way that I want it to in my hair, I can still use it kind of as a texturizing or volumizing product for my roots. So that's another way that I'm able to repurpose a product that I originally didn't like. And I could have just decluttered those products and given up on them, but I think it's more fun to figure out ways to make them work. So my next tip, like I said, is kind of contradictory to my previous tip, but it is don't try to pan products that you absolutely hate. So an example for me, I'm talking like products that have, maybe you can't stand the smell. Like for me last year, I was so determined to convince myself that I could pan this lipstick from Milani. It was the Milani just regular lipstick in the shade Pretty Natural. And I just can't handle the smell of those lipsticks. I really don't like the smell. I won't buy any more of those lipsticks just because to me I don't like the smell. It bothers me so much that I don't enjoy wearing the product. So that was a product that I kept trying to tell myself, well, no, like I will feel so accomplished if I use this up, so I want to keep trying. And I ended up just getting discouraged and kind of stressed out about it. And I really don't think that project panning should be a cause for stress in your life. Like, if anything, it should do the opposite. So don't try to pan products that you just really don't like. Maybe you've tried to find other uses for it and you just can't seem to make it work for you. Just pass it on. Life is too short to use products that you really, really can't stand. So do try to find ways to use products that you don't like, but don't force it. If it's just not working for you, don't force it. Another thing that I remember, I think it was Kaylee Baute who mentioned this in a video where it was kind of like a chatty video about project panning that she did. I think this was like way back in the summer. She was talking about 5 things that she loves and hates about project panning. And one tip that she brought up that I thought was just such a good point is that I think she was talking about eyeshadow palettes, and she said it was something along the lines of, if you use one eyeshadow palette every single day, or you use a different eyeshadow palette from your collection every single day, you're still using the same amount of eyeshadow from your collection. So think about it that way. Is it really worth it if you're starting to feel like really bogged down with a product? Just for the sake of using up product, you're using up the same amount of product whether you're using a bunch of products in your collection or just one every single day. You know what I mean? So that's kind of why I don't really pan lipsticks and eyeshadows, because those I know are 2 categories where I like to enjoy the full variety of what I have. Things like brow pencils, foundations, face primers, those I feel like I can focus in on one product at a time more easily than I can with eyeshadows and lipsticks. Actually, last month I did a video talking about my 5 favorite and least favorite types of products to pan. So if you're interested in that, I will link it, of course. But yeah, so don't try to pan products that you just don't like. And there may be certain types of products that you just simply don't enjoy panning. Like for me, like I said, it's lipsticks and eyeshadows. I don't think I'm gonna be trying to pan anything like that anytime soon because I just enjoy panning other things more. So my next tip is to balance your project with easier and harder products to pan. Let's say you're doing a 10 pan, a project 10 pan. I would strongly recommend pick a couple of challenging products. Like for me, the hardest products to pan are like blushes, like contour duos, like cheek products of any kind take me forever to use up. So whenever I do have a couple of things like that in my project that I know are going to be challenging, I like to balance it out with something that still makes sense for me to put in the project, but that maybe it's close to being used up. Like for example, I did put my NYX micro brow pencil in my project and I knew that I was going to be able to use it up within the month, but putting it in the project was a good way for me to just give myself that final push to use it up. But I knew that it wasn't going to be hard to use up, and it's a product that I enjoyed using, so it wasn't like annoying to use. If you have a bunch of like really challenging things in your project that you think are going to take forever to use up, you might start to feel discouraged, so I would definitely recommend at least putting 1 or 2 easier products in there. And of course, these are things that you'll learn over time. Like maybe you're thinking, well, I don't even know what is easier or harder for me to pan. Maybe this is your first time starting a project pan, or maybe you're just thinking about it right now. So that's something that you'll kind of learn as you go. My next tip, number 5, is don't rush it. Don't make the end goal of using up the product become so important to you that you don't enjoy the process of using the product. If you find yourself, like, I wouldn't recommend, let's say you know that you only need 1 pump of a foundation to cover your whole face. Don't use 2 pumps just for the sake of using up the foundation faster. I feel like that's, I don't think that project panning should ever be wasteful. Like, don't use more product than you know you need just so you can use it up faster. Don't dig your brush in an eyeshadow or a blush or something just so you can hit pan faster. And if your goal is just to hit pan and not to use up the product, I don't know, sometimes I see people like just dip their brush in the exact same spot every time they use an eyeshadow, and so they hit pan, but it's like just like a tunnel down to the bottom of the pan, and it's like they probably didn't really use that much of the eyeshadow. And I don't think it should just be about the goal of hitting pan or the goal of using up the product if you're just rushing towards that goal. Like, just enjoy the product, enjoy the process. If it takes you 6 months to hit pan on 1 blush, which, hello, that happened to me, it really does take a long time to hit pan on certain things. Just enjoy the product. If you're getting tired of using a product, take it out of the project. If you're worried about something expiring, I don't think that using up the product faster is really that helpful, because the product's gonna expire anyway. And if you're just wasting product or using more than you need, then you're still wasting product. Yeah, don't rush it. Just enjoy the process. I feel like I used to be very focused on, okay, I just want to hit pan, or I just want to use this up. And I think I learned that I just have more fun with my projects when I'm more relaxed about it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to use up this foundation. It might take me a long time. It might not. If it takes me a long time, good. That just means that it's a product that I really got a lot of bang for my buck because it lasted a long time. If I use it up in a month, I use it up really quickly, cool, I can move it out of my collection. I reached my goal. That feels really good. It's like, don't get so hung up on reaching your goal. I know it sounds cheesy, but it really is about the journey, not the destination. My next tip is to choose at least a few products that you know you can fit easily into your everyday routine. So things like brow pencils or face powders, maybe not like a bright yellow eyeshadow or a green eyeliner or like a glittery eyeliner, or something that maybe you do wear those things every day. I'm just thinking for me personally, giving those examples. I don't like to choose products that I know I only use maybe once a month, and I just use them for like the creativity aspect of them. Like, I don't really like to pan colored eyeliners, for example. Those are things that I just like to use because I want to use them. I'm not in a hurry to use those things up because they're kind of more in my collection for like the novelty of them, I guess. So I personally like to choose products that I know that I can really easily fit into my daily makeup routine. Well, I don't really wear makeup every day, but the days I do wear makeup, probably 3 to 5 days a week, I know that I will likely use them. Then again, I'm also a huge advocate for not feeling like you have to use your project pan items every single day. I think you should also make sure that you're using the rest of your collection too and not neglecting the other things in your collection that you're not working on panning. But I also think it's a good idea to pick things that can easily, like for me, like it's brow pencils or concealers, foundations, things that I don't really have a ton of in my collection, and they're kind of like basic staple products. That's not to say I don't enjoy panning other things as well, but it does make it a little bit easier and a little bit more effortless for those certain products that you know you can easily use pretty regularly. Especially if you're doing a seasonal project where you have like a strict end goal and you're trying to reach your goal by a certain date. Like for me, last year's 13 by Halloween project pan, I had 3 months. So I made sure to pick products that were really realistic. I knew that they wouldn't be too hard to use up within that time frame and that were easy to fit into my daily routine. But if it's a year-long project, maybe you don't need to focus on that as much. And then my 7th tip is kind of for those who are newer to project panning. Maybe you're just trying to figure out how to start your very first project pan. There are a lot of things to consider, like how you want to structure it, whether you want to have like an end date, or if it's more of like a rolling year-long project pan, how many things you want to put in the project. If you're just starting out with your first project pan, I would recommend, for one thing, picking products where it's relatively easy to track your progress. So some things it's just really hard to see how much progress you're making, like lip glosses for me are almost impossible to see where I'm at in the tube because it just seems to coat the entire inside of the tube. Certain foundations are easier to track than others. Things where you can see how much of a dip there is, like any kind of powder product or product that's in a pan, those are a little bit easier to at least get a sense of how well you're doing. And you know, once you hit pan, you can see how much you've expanded the pan. But I would suggest choosing products where you can pretty easily track your progress. And how you track your progress is totally up to you, even whether you track your progress. Maybe you don't want to track your progress and it's more just you want to make sure you're using the products and you don't care really like about the incremental progress. The point is there's really no right or wrong way to do these things. You can kind of decide for yourself what works best, but I think that picking products where it's pretty easy to mark on the packaging, you know, where you are, or mark it on a piece of paper if it's like a pencil or something that you sharpen or something that you roll up. Try to think about that because that can make it a little bit more fun to kind of get to track your progress, at least for me. And also kind of to piggyback off of that, if it is your first time doing a project pan, I would suggest starting small, like maybe just a 5 pan. I've had a lot of fun with like really small project pans, and you can just kind of pick a handful of products that you'd like to kind of see where it goes and maybe set yourself like a 3-month end goal or maybe a whole year goal. It's all up to you really, but I would suggest kind of starting small and go easy on yourself the first time around. Like don't expect yourself to use up like 10 lipsticks and, you know, pan a whole eyeshadow palette. Like be realistic. Like I said, being realistic is the #1 tip here. So those are my 7 tips for project panning. I feel like this ended up just being a really long, rambly video of me like ranting about project panning, but I really love project panning. It's one of my favorite parts of the makeup community on YouTube. I think that project panning is so much fun. It's really had a lot of benefits for me. I think it's really helped me not want to buy makeup as often. It's helped me kind of appreciate what I already have and appreciate how long it really takes to use up products. And I kind of wanted to end this by saying that if you are a project panner, you probably disagreed with a few of the things that I said, or a few of my tips. Maybe you have a completely different approach to project panning, and that's okay too. I think that's kind of the whole point here, is there really is no right or wrong way to do things. Everyone kind of has their own journey with panning. Everyone has their own reasons for doing it, their own kind of takeaways that they take from it. And I think that's kind of the beauty of project panning. I really do think it's for everyone. I think that everyone should at least try a project pan because I don't know, but I will warn you, it is addictive. Like once you start, you're not gonna want to stop. So I hope that this video was helpful. If you enjoyed it, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel. I do lots of videos about project panning and using what you have and that sort of thing. So I'd love to have you stick around for future videos, and I will talk to you guys next time.